Today's guest is Jasmine, an addiction and mental health advocate whose recovery journey crosses alcohol, opiates, trauma, and fierce perseverance. After surviving a drug driving accident, losing her father, and struggling with major mental illness, Jasmine found stability through methadone treatment and deep personal work. Her mission now is to break stigma, speak truth, and help others find a space to heal. Jasmine, I want to start with the crash, the moment that everything started to change for you. You mentioned crashing and nearly losing your daughter and spiraling into deeper substance use. What role did alcohol and opiates play in your life before recovery?
Okay, so my car crash, I was actually sober at the time for that. So that played a role with my mental health because they told me that I had killed somebody when nobody was hurt. And I have this mental health issue where I pick my skin. So they seen that and they thought that I was high on drugs. So they lied in their paperwork and said they did blood work when they didn't. So this case went on forever, and I was looking at 120 months in prison because of all of the things that had been said. But I had a really good lawyer. Obviously, I did do a P test, and it was clean. And they found that, and they also have video of me doing a U-turn in the rain, losing control, and pulling into a parking lot to avoid a busy intersection. Right. So it ended up in my favor, but what role it played was a huge mental health problem, like deep, deep depression. So I decided that I couldn't sit there and focus on that all the time because it was just causing me extreme stress. I was thinking I'm going to lose my children because I'm going to prison, and you know how your mind starts to spiral and stuff like that, right? Plus, I have mental health issues, so it doesn't really help, right? So I started a business I no longer do really because I went back to school, but it was something, it was holistic healing, and it was just a way to take my mind off of all of the stuff happening at the time, right? So I just mind shifted into doing work basically, right? So that I wasn't constantly focused on, you know, I'm going to go to jail, I'm going to lose everything, all that kind of stuff, right? My first accident happened when I was 19, and I was intoxicated for that one. And I had a Chrysler Fifth Ave, so they were still made out of metal then, and a huge front end. And I hit an 18-wheeler, and because of the front end of the car, I was okay. So I got lucky, like severely lucky in that situation. I mean, I had to pay fines and stuff like that. I was young and stupid and going through a lot. So that's what led to that because at that point, I was an alcoholic and just trying to cope, right? And didn't really think about the consequences of my actions, I guess.
How did addiction impact your relationships with your child and partner?
So, I wasn't addicted with my second child, but with my first child, I was sober at first, but my dad passed away, which, like you said, it kind of led me to spiral into drinking and using opiates and stuff like that. And there's just times where I would get blackout drunk and I wouldn't remember anything. This one time she was just in bed with me, no diaper. She wasn't even a year old. And that really messed me up. So I quit drinking. But then I started doing opiates and I was much more functional, I'll say, on the opiates, but it's still not a good thing. And I mean, I remember taking her to those check cashing places, and that also is so humiliating to me to think about, you know? And her father is an active homeless addict as well. I now, as a sober person, try really hard to I like let her know what addiction is for an 8-year old to be able to understand to some degree so that she doesn't wonder what's wrong with her father, you know what I mean? And also, I tell her, like, Mommy, was sick too, but mommy went and sought help, right? Like I went to the methadone clinic after my spouse now had 3 heart attacks and almost died, and watching him like lifeless on the floor several times really hit home, you know? So I went to the methadone clinic, and that's where I found like true sobriety, right? Like programs and stuff, they didn't really work for me. I don't think I was ready to fully accept the fact that I had these problems, but they also at the methadone clinic gave me a mental health assessment, which helped me understand why I was using these things to cope and giving me coping mechanisms to change that, right? So that's the role it really played in her life, was that she is the reason why I don't ever want to go back to that kind of life or anything. But yes, I've done some things I regret when she was younger that I wish I never did. And those are the things that stick with you, and those are the things that keep you sober. Trust me, because you replay it in your head and you don't want to ever do it again.
Were there emotions or beliefs that maybe kept you stuck in that period of addiction, the cycle of addiction?
Yeah, so after my dad passed away, I lived in the same house for 30 years. My dad didn't want me to sell the house, but my aunt did some shady things, and I ended up having to sell the house, which was, I have agoraphobia. So that was my safe place, right? And so having to leave was really, really traumatic for me, especially because my mother was yelling and screaming at me about not taking certain things when I moved. And all I wanted to do was say goodbye to my dad and put his ashes in the backyard. And she's just screaming at me. So I never got the closure that I sought in that. I also, my aunt didn't let me speak at my own father's funeral. I'm an only child. I lived with him for 10 years. We were extremely close. So those things led me to use opiates. And because the person who gave them to me was super functional, I didn't think that they were as bad as they are. And I also needed to be numb. I did. I couldn't handle it, my emotions at the time. There was just so much that I didn't. I was younger. I was alone. I just lost my dad. My aunt excommunicated me out of the family. Didn't let me speak at the funeral. My mom was screaming and yelling at me. I had to leave my home. It was just a lot of trauma that led to the opiate abuse. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear. I'm sorry.
Was there a single breaking point, or was it more like a slow realization that you needed a change?
Well, as an addict, some people realize they have a problem and some people have victim mentality. I knew that I needed to stop, but my spouse having those heart attacks and stuff like that made me take action in stopping. Like watching him lifeless on the floor several times, his sister trying to resuscitate him, them taking him away in an ambulance, the police saying that they cannot leave my house because they think he's going to die and it's going to be a crime scene, and all of that kind of stuff was really what brought me to stop with everything, like I hadn't been drinking, but I had been using opiates. They replaced the drinking, right? Because I could function when I was on the opiates, where with alcohol, I definitely couldn't function, right? So the opiates, they just are a devil, and they take over your mind and your body, and the withdrawals from them are extremely bad. So you have to go to a methadone clinic almost to get on either methadone or Suboxone just to be able to get off of the drug. Otherwise, you're going to be sick. And I mean, some people can do it cold turkey, but I'm saying from my experience, I take Suboxone because it is a beta blocker. So if I take an opiate, I won't feel anything from it. So it's kind of like my insurance to keep me in line, right?
Did you go to a combination of therapy along with the methadone maintenance?
So I have the best doctor ever. He like I go in every 2 weeks, and she and I have like a bit of a counseling session, and then we talk about like my medications and like if I have like expressed to her something negative in my life has happened, she will give me guidance and then ask me the next time I see her how things are going. And she really works with me to, like she understands me. She's the only counselor I've really ever, well, she's a doctor, but she's the only one I've ever really been able to like communicate with and actually like get something out of it. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think it's because she obviously deals with addicts all day, every day, right? But she has good, strong advice, even about setting barriers in your life and like things like that, right? So it's not just we're talking about addiction here. We're talking about people pleasing and setting boundaries where people are upsetting
Yeah.
me or whatever it is going on, right?
What
So,
programs are you looking at to work on that stuff, or are you also still in counseling? Are you in any other programs to help?
I can't say what programs I
Right.
go to because it's the anonymity thing. It'll get blocked from your podcast, so I can't say. But I do go to a program. Well, it's not just for addicts. It's kind of for a support group for anybody who's struggling mental health wise and drug addiction wise. So I go to that once a week, and I also with her as well. So I do therapy. I do group therapy and I do one-on-one therapy, more or less.
What advice would you give to someone that is resistant to treatment options like methadone because of stigma?
I would say it's funny because you don't expect what a methadone clinic is not what you expect. They don't just treat opiate addiction, they treat every addiction. They have social workers there to help people that need it. If you're needing to fill out paperwork for like welfare or disability, they have people that help with that. They have counselors. They're very welcoming. It's a different atmosphere than what you would ever expect. And that's what I would say about a methadone clinic is that they aren't what you think. Like it has that stigma and you don't want to have that stigma saying, "Oh, I go to a methadone clinic." But honestly, once you do, you will realize that it is not what you think. Like I said, they have so many different programs and options. They help you with basically whatever you need at the time. And they also, like with medication and stuff like that, with my Suboxone, they always monitor that. You do have to sample, so that means you have to pee in a cup every time because they won't let you take your medicine home. You'll have to come every day if you're still using. It's just a rule that they have. But other than that, like the doctors are great, the workers are great. They have many different programs. It's just not what you think it is. It's kind of like a community service kind of atmosphere, you know? Like there's so many people that come in just to get even say they are in court for their children and they want to get their children back. They go to the methadone clinic so that the doctor can sign off saying that they're sober and stuff like that. So it really actually is used for far more than just opiate addicts, right? Even if you're an alcoholic per se, the doctor will see you and the doctor will give you a mental health assessment and then go from there with what type of treatment you need, right? So that's another thing. They give you free, which it's normally like $200 to get a mental health assessment. They give that to you for free from like a licensed psychologist, not just a counselor. It's legitimate and it helps you kind of understand yourself, but it also helps you in daily life. Like I for like school or something with me, if have something really bad happen to me and my anxiety is really bad and my PTSD, I have accessibility because of this paperwork, right? So, and like I said, they also work like find you programs that work for those kind of issues, right? Or medication depending on what it is, right? They won't give you like anything like opiates or they won't give you anything like a benzodiazepine, but they'll give you SSRIs and stuff like that to kind of help.
Okay. That was one of the questions I was going to ask is what type of medications are work well. My other question is it sounds like it's very important to balance both the mental health and the medication assisted treatment process. Is there anything you wish you would have known going into this program?
I wish I would have done it sooner because I didn't understand myself, and that's why I was self-medicating, right? So I wish I would have done it sooner so that I would have been able to find the proper treatment for myself and not had gone through as many things as I had, you know what I mean? And it was all because I didn't really understand what a methadone clinic was either. So that's, and I even took psychology courses to try to figure myself out because I knew I had a problem with alcohol. This is before I had kids and stuff. And I just could not find the right, thing that worked for me. But my father passing away and he didn't like my drinking is a major one. And I hate feeling hungover, hate it, don't want to ever do it again. I don't like alcohol. I don't even like the taste of it. So realistically, once I was able to get away from it, I didn't want to go back. And so it was the opiates that really was only like a 2-year addiction, but it was a rough addiction, right? Like it just your tolerance goes so fast and then you're taking more and more and more, and it's costing you, they're not cheap. So it's costing you more money and more money and more money. And that's also where I feel bad because I could have put that money into taking my kids to freaking Disneyland, but instead I was selfish and I really don't like that, you know?
When you say opiates, are you talking more like hydrocodone, hydrocodone, or other type of opiates?
I took Oxy. So a Percocet or like 80 milligram Oxy was the one I liked the most, to be honest. But yeah, I liked Oxy. That was my, I guess, drug of choice when it comes to opiates. Like my sister-in-law loves her morphine, but I didn't like anything but Oxy. That was
What was it that drew you to that specifically? Was it something emotional? Was it the physical feeling? Was it the headspace it put you in?
It's a headspace it puts you in. It's like you don't feel happy, right? You take a pill, now you feel happy. And that's what I mean by functional because I was happy. I wasn't, acting depressed. And so that became a big thing for me, right? Like I struggled with being happy when I was drinking, even, right? So the fact that I found something that made me actually feel happy was very addictive, right?
What after finding recovery and starting to work on yourself, what motivated you to step more into advocacy, taking that extra step?
So I live in a town that has basically an opioid epidemic, and there's a lot of homeless people, right? And because I was an addict myself, if my dad wasn't the type of person he was, I would have been homeless. He gave me shelter, right? So I know for a fact that those people didn't ask to be there or, want to be there, but people treat them horribly, right? So I do a resource program where I hand out all over town in like the clinics and the nonprofits and stuff where they can find anything they need because it's hard for them to find that, to get around, all that kind of stuff. So they can find anything they need from that. And I'm working to kind of push that into other cities because I think everybody that's homeless needs that resource because even down to where you can shower, when you can shower, health, like medication, people getting your ID, all that kind of stuff, right? So I really dig deep into it. And my daughter's father almost died over Christmas, and he's still homeless and actively using. So I also wanted to start a podcast to kind of humanize it and show that, like I say, everybody's addicted. I mean, I watch his mother suffer so much. I don't know what my daughter's ramifications from this are going to be, and I don't like me and his mom had a funeral of a person who's still alive because we knew that the old version of him is not coming back. And we had to grieve it and let it go, or else it was going to torture us. She's also been sober for 30 years from alcohol. So her and I kind of have that in common. So we decided to grieve it and let it, like, give it to God almost, right? And if he finds sobriety, we hope he does. But we can't keep sitting there wishing every day that he's going to come back, right? So basically that's why I kind of wanted to do the podcast because I wanted to show the family members are also affected. I wanted to show different ways people find recovery, and I wanted people who are clinicians to come on and kind of explain addiction It just so that it's full circle, you know what I mean? And everybody can kind of understand, if you've never been touched by it, that family members are affected, people do recover. People can relate to that too. Like some of the things people tell me, if you're in a dark moment and you hear that, it really helps. It's helped me so many times, like just from talking to people that have overcome hardships, right? So it's, I don't know, it's just for awareness, it's for, yeah, it's just basically I want people to understand it, and I want people to, not treat the homeless so bad because I don't like it.
We discussed earlier the stigma with medication assisted treatment. What is the biggest misconception that you hear about methadone clinics or harm reduction work?
Basically, that people go in there and lie a lot just so that they can get those drugs and sell them on the street for the other drugs that they're doing, right? But it's a lot more difficult to do that than you think. Like they they drug test you every time you go in there. And so if you are still using, because those kind of drugs stay in your system for at least a week, right? So you're not going to go a week without using because you're going to go through terrible withdrawal, right? So, and the doctor's going to see that when you show up too. They've seen everything, right? So, the biggest misconception is that people go in there trying to get Suboxone or Methadone and sell it on the streets to get what they want. That's not how it is. So that's probably the biggest misconception I can think of.
When you're helping other people, what boundaries help you to stay emotionally safe as you're helping them?
Basically, I put things in a box. So this is what, like, if I have something really bad going on, but I have to do an interview or something like that, I put it in a box and I put it over here and I will deal with it when I have time to deal with it. Do you know what I mean? I don't let it sit and fester. I put it in a box and I deal with it when, like, see, how coming on here or whatever, say something really bad just happened to me. I put it in a box and I deal with it after we were done, you know? So that's what I do to deal with that, is I put it in the box and I deal with it later. Not like later, like as if like, you hold on to it for years. I just mean if you have to go to work or if you have to do something like an interview or, anything really, even go to your kid's school. Something bad's going on, put it in a box until that is over. I don't mean put it in a box for a long time, just until you're done. And so basically that way you're not having a panic attack while you're talking to somebody or crying while you're talking to your kid's teacher because you're triggered by something, right?
When you face discouragement or stigma, what keeps you anchored right now?
I just don't really care what other people think about me.
Okay.
That's what it is. Because you know what? I spent most of my life caring so much about what other people think about me that now I don't care. I'll tell you anything you want to know about me. I'm not like I will tell you I'm embarrassed by my actions, but I'll still tell you about it. I don't have anything to hide. I'm honest about anything and everything. And if you don't like me, I really don't care.
Has your idea of recovery shifted since you started?
A little bit, because a lot of people have different ways that they've recovered. Sometimes listening to them makes me like open my eyes to maybe a different way of looking at recovery for myself, you know? Like, there's one lady I interviewed, and just her perspective really was eye-opening to me and really helped me think about things in a different way, right? She's very positive about like things, right? So basically it was like, um, you have control of your life and you can do whatever you want with your life. Your addiction does not hold you back. Your past does not hold you back. You're capable of whatever you want to be capable of doing as long as you let go of the fear and the anxiety and stuff like that. So different perspectives a lot of the time really help me.
What would you say to someone who feels stuck in shame about seeking help?
Basically, if you're stuck in shame about seeking help, research different types of ways to get sober, I guess you could say, and find a way for you. Because if you want to do it privately, there is ways to do that as well, right? So find something that you think will work for you. And the shame, it's your past. You cannot go back in time. So basically, you have to forgive yourself in a way and not forget. Like you forgive, but you don't forget. And don't feel shame because you know what? We as addicts have all done it. You're not alone. That's another one. You are not alone in this at all. And if you reach out and try to find help, you will find that out very quickly that you're not alone at all. And even sitting in the methadone clinic with other patients, just chatting with them, you are not alone at all. So don't let the shame or the stigma get in your way because it's just going to hold you in a negative space. So I guess that's what I would say.
Where can people follow your work? How can they connect with you if they want to learn more about your podcast or methadone assisted treatment?
So my podcast is on YouTube and Spotify, and it's called Everyone is Addicted. Also, my email is Jasmine Bootle 23 at gmail.com, or on my Facebook page, which is also Jasmine Bootle. You can private message me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can.
What excites you most about healing work that you still have ahead of you?
Hey, this is bad. I've always said, I'm broken, and if I can help fix enough people, maybe I can fix myself. And through what I've done so far, I have been able to find a lot more self-confidence. I've learned how to set barriers. So I'm excited about being able to get even further within deep diving into my root cause issues. So that's exciting for me because I've learned so many different ways to do it. And I've also gained a lot of confidence by just going to the methadone clinic. Honestly, my doctor is amazing.
Is there any other message that you'd like to share with anyone who is listening or maybe someone that might be struggling?
If you're struggling, reach out to somebody, even if it's anonymously. Like, there's lots of groups, recovery groups on Facebook. Reach out, even if it's anonymously, for some advice. People will connect with you. Also, look into programs in your area because people who understand, like, so when you go to a counselor that has never experienced addiction or mental health issues, they're very textbook and they can't relate to you. So going to meetings, these people can relate to you and they can give you guidance and they also lift you up, you know? And so if you're struggling, don't be afraid to seek help, even if it's anonymously, just even for some advice, because even that little bit of advice might actually push you to find what you're looking for.
Jasmine, thank you for your courage today. You're proof. You're proof that healing isn't about being perfect. It's just about being willing. And thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.